It's hard to overstate how important this moment is.
I swear by Almighty God that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles, his heirs and successors, according to law. So help me God.
George Galloway is the new MP for Rochdale, but he said out loud what the Patrick Christys Tonight Show has been saying for months.
So that's what I'm predicting here. The next election will be about Muslims and will be about the taking away of civil liberties in this country. It's Sunak's last hope. I pray for the social peace of our country that it's a forlorn hope.
This will be a Muslim election, says Mr Galloway. He's going to try to take Labour Party big hitters.
If I give you just one example, Angela Rayner has a parliamentary majority, I think, of around 3,000. There's at least 15,000 supporters of my point of view in her constituency. So we'll be putting a candidate up against her, either a Workers' Party candidate or more likely an independent candidate that we support, and that will vitally affect the election of the Labour deputy leader.
But much more than this. He outlines how this Muslim election is going to unfold.
And there are many constituencies in London, from Ilford to Bethnal Green in the heart of the City of London, in Birmingham, in other parts of the West Midlands, in northwest England, in the towns around Rochdale, Oldham, Blackburn, Burnley, Nelson, Bury. We'll be putting candidates up in all these places, and we will either win or we'll make sure that Keir Starmer doesn't win.
Let's have a look at some of these areas now. So Labour's Shadow Justice Minister Shabana Mahmood in Birmingham Ladywood abstained on a ceasefire vote, 42.6% Muslim vote. Gone. Blackburn, Kate Holland, 42.9% Muslim vote. Bradford East, Imran Hussain, 39% Muslim vote. Oldham West, Jim McMahon, 28% Muslim vote. It won't actually really matter whether or not they voted for, against or abstained on a ceasefire, because the damage to Keir Starmer's Labour Party is among the Muslim community, and it has been done. Like for Tahir Ali, for example. He's the one who said this.
Therefore, is it now not the time for the Prime Minister to admit that he has the blood of thousands of innocent people on his hands, and for him to commit to demanding an immediate ceasefire?
His seat of Birmingham Hall Green and Moseley has a 49% Muslim vote. I bet that goes. Now, in all of those seats, I could have mentioned around 30 more. The Labour Party can wave goodbye to power, in my view. Keir Starmer has been absolutely shafted. He can't be seen to back Israel any more than he has done, because he's definitely lost those seats if he does that. And his MPs will rebel against him. But he can't go softer on Gaza, because he'll be accused of dragging Labour back into the old anti-Semitism scandal, won't he? George Galloway is playing yet another blinder by confirming, in most cases in these seats, that they will just back an independent. Why? Well, that's so that if one of those independent candidates echoes the quite grotesque sentiments of the deputy leader of Galloway's Workers' Party of Britain, Chris Williamson, who regularly and despicably compares Israel to the Nazis and Gaza to Auschwitz, Galloway will be distanced from them. They won't belong to any party that will have to justify their comments, and they can't lose the party whip, so they can just carry on and quite possibly win. The fact is this: there is now a well-organised, highly energised, majority Muslim, pro-Gaza, anti-Israel, borderline Hamas sympathising movement with a charismatic totemic leader at the helm. It will be a massive problem for Labour, and mark my words, after they've been served their backsides on a Galloway-shaped platter at the next election, all of a sudden the Labour Party will start to care a lot more about Islamist extremism. But I'm joined now by an interesting character. He's a former Islamist and extremism prevention educator now. It's Suhail Ahmed. Suhail, thank you very much. Great to have you on the show. We spoke a lot there about George Galloway and the Muslim vote. I mean, he said it himself, didn't he, really? But I understand that you have certain concerns about this, in the sense that, do you think that George Galloway might be using the Muslim community a bit? Talk to me about that.
That's a very good question. See, when I was a teenager, I was quite young. The very same mosque that radicalized me, he attended that mosque. And in that speech he gave, he implied very strongly that he may be Muslim. And when questioned on it at the end, responded with, "Oh, I can't be honest because of the shadowy elite at the top." And that was his kind of response. And not only did that confirm to me my own conspiratorial fears that I'd been raised with, and not only did it confirm to me the ideology I'd been raised with, Islamism, it suggested to me that actually everyone was out to get me, and that as a result I was right to hate everyone, i.e. to hate Britain. And that is incredibly damaging in and of itself. But secondly, he's clearly manipulating. He's clearly suggesting that he may be Muslim or implying it, but in a way that retains his ability to plausibly deny that fact. And I don't think he's Muslim at all. I don't think he is. But he's acting as though he were in order to gain votes. And that's deeply divisive, especially in a secular society where we've agreed that overt expressions of religion in politics isn't something we do. By convention, that's what we've agreed. But he's undermining all of that, and he's reversing it. It's divisive. People will look at that, look at his political speeches, and I wouldn't be surprised if many people actually started hating Muslims as a result.
I mean, it's strong stuff. I'm just going to put to you a comment from George Galloway's spokesperson that we got later in the day. It was quite short. It says, George's faith is between him and God. So that's their statement. He was also sworn in today using a copy of the Bible, I believe. Some people would say, why does it matter whether or not he is a Muslim, whether or not he pretends to be a Muslim from time to time? I'm sure he would deny that, or any of this. Why does that matter?
It doesn't matter what his religion is, but it suddenly does matter when he makes it a matter of a point on which to convince people to vote for him, when he uses religion in order to garner votes and sympathy. That is when it matters. He's the one who made it matter, not me, not anyone else. No one told him to use Islam or Christianity or any other religion as part of his election campaigning. He's the one who did. And that's entirely on him.
Okay. Well, I'm sure George Galloway would deny using religion for votes. Absolutely. Do you think then that George Galloway is in your experience, is saying, his implication, in your view, his implication that he may well be a Muslim, you think is a useful vote winner, do you, amongst the Muslim community?
I think it may be calculated, and I'm pretty strongly certain, I can't be entirely certain, but I'm pretty certain that he's doing this in a very calculated manner, so as to garner the sympathy of Muslims. And frankly, with our community, with the Muslim community, we have a high degree of confirmation bias. So if someone even implies that they may be Muslim, someone who even implies certain things, we'll kind of take that as an affirmative. And he knows that, and he uses that. Okay. So he's weaponizing the fears of the Muslim community against them, and in the process, dividing them and separating them from the British people.
Okay.
That is dangerous.
It's incredibly interesting to have you on, Sahel, and I do hope to talk to you again at some point very soon. Now, it's Sahel Ahmed there, who is, by his own admission, former Islamist, now an extremism prevention educator. I'll reiterate that spokesperson for George Galloway said George's faith is between him and God, and no doubt George would deny that he's in any way using religion in order to garner votes. Let's get the thoughts of my panel now. We have got Daily Express columnist Carol Malone, I've got trade unionist Andy McDonald, and I've also got ex-Brexit Party MEP Belinda DeLucy. I'm going to go to you first on this, Carol, and just ask whether or not you think that the quotes-unquote Muslim vote is going to be seismic at this election. George Galloway saying essentially it's going to be the Muslim election.
Hugely. I mean, I think that's exactly what's going to happen. You saw his game today and all the clips we've been showing. You know, he's actually named all the places he's going to field a candidate. And I know people say, oh, he never lasts for long in Parliament. He's going to last long enough to damage this next election. I think Labour could be done for here because they have to do one of two things now. You know, what's the thing that chilled me most about Galloway today, where he said, we'll field a candidate and even if we don't win, we'll make sure Starmer doesn't. I mean, that must have them all, you know, cringing. He's already said he's going for Reynes. I think it's terrifying because Labour are going to have to ramp up their support of Gaza more than they already have to try and get the pro-Palestinian vote back again, which is terrifying.
I think it's lost, though. I agree with you, but I think that they've lost that.
But, I mean, I think this could be very damaging come the next election. I think Labour thought they had it in the bag. I don't think they have it in the bag anymore.
OK, all right, Andy. I mean, Angela Rayner potentially goes. Apparently they've got a strong candidate against Starmer. West Streeting's on the brink. I mean, you could lose the Labour Party.
I mean, this guy, you know, he's represented 4 cities for 3 parties across 4 decades, you know, one-term George, that's what they call him. He's just absolutely waffling, you know, name this candidate that you're going to stand against Angela Rayner. You know, she's a stalwart of the community. She's not going to be defeated by some chippy Workers' Party.
He's come in at a time when there's a rising tide of anti-Islamism, and we're seeing it happening. We're seeing it on the streets. This is like the perfect storm.
This is just George Galloway. No one else is like George Galloway in his party. You saw his deputy leader, Chris Williamson. All right, but we have got quite a charismatic chap who is Shamima Begum's family lawyer, who's going to be standing, I believe, in Bethnal Green, for example, as an independent. That could happen. Belinda, I'll just throw it over to you. Do you think that actually we are going to be seeing the Muslim vote essentially bring Labour down here?
I don't know, and I'll tell you why. I think the circumstances in Rochdale were exceptional, very, very unusual. Galloway is a highly known, charismatic, intelligent man, sometimes, except when he talks about Israel and Bradford. You know, there aren't many people like him. And I also think if there's a ceasefire between now and the election, it will fizzle out. But the words that really made my skin feel quite chilled is when he singled out a religious faith to be the foundation of the next election. If anyone had said it was the Hindus, the Christians, it would be absolutely alienating. And I think many Brits out there are terrified of the foreign nationalism that's being shown on our streets and in our politics.
What is terrifying about Galloway is he's a very smart man. We've all met him. We've all had experience of him. He's very clever, and it worries me that he is going to influence people who maybe aren't Muslim to vote for him.
I understand all of that. I do also think, though, that we live in a democracy and it is up to other people to make the case against him if they don't want him to be as much of a threat. And people can't just sit on their hands and complain about him without doing anything about it.
But they didn't at Rochdale, Patrick. 10,000 majority.
Exactly.